Hi, my name is Inem, I'm your host. Welcome to the Inside Out podcast where the conversations go a little deeper. So let's get right to it. Today I'm talking about something interesting. And I feel like everything I talk about is interesting, but today's one is extra interesting just because of how controversial it can be. And that's jealousy. I think it's interesting how we would much rather name any other thing, any other emotion, any other feeling um, before we name it, before we admit that we're jealous. Like we would admit to being shy, nervous, trauma, depression, anxiety, shame, even. But you see, jealousy, that's where we draw the line. That's where we would like, I'd rather die. I'd rather chew grass. I'd rather chew jeans. And I think that's such an interesting reaction, considering the fact that for me personally, jealousy is one of I think of jealousy as one of the not just the most misunderstood emotion, but also the most honest, or one of the most honest emotions. And I'll explain. Jealousy doesn't care that you are grown, that you are evolved, that you think you are so mature. Jealousy is going to show up regardless. And I think that's why it's so important to change how we see jealousy. And let me give you an example, right? A while ago, I hung out with this person. Let's call him T, who was popular. We had always hung around people, right? Every time we would interact in public, we're always around people. But this was like our first time hanging out together, and we're hanging out together and something was bothering me inside. I was just like, what is happening here? Who does he think he is? He just why is he doing like this? Is it because he's popular? Is it because he's this? Is it because he's that? This is all internally. I must add. This is happening inside. Outwardly, I would like to think I was holding it together and being good because I act this was someone I actually liked and we're friends and we're vibing. It was a good time. And then I go home and I'm like, okay, now let's actually talk about what just happened there. Like, what was that witch behavior? What's going on there? And after a couple of conversations with myself that lasted longer than I would like to admit, I finally admitted that I was jealous. That's it. I was jealous. He wasn't doing anything. He literally was just being himself. He was so confident. He was so self-assured. He wasn't and you could tell he wasn't pretending because we found out after that. I've seen him in people. He wasn't pretending. He literally was just being himself. It was just this confident, self-assured person, and I was jealous of that because personally people have told me, oh, they find me intimidating. I like to think I am confident, but inside I know sometimes it's an act. Sometimes I'm faking it before I feel it. I know that sometimes I'm not as you know confident as I seem, as self-assured as I seem. I am sometimes really, really shy, and so. But it's not even about being shy. It's what I saw in him was just this person that was just themselves. Like he would have been the same person with me, with the president, with literally anyone. And I admired that so much, or wanted that so much for myself, and hence I was jealous. And instead of admitting it, I came up with some excuse and all the things. And that's the thing about jealousy is that we tend to put things on it. Um we call it witch, say we are being a witch, we are being a witch, or like it's witch behavior if we admit to being jealous, or we are ungrateful, or we're not proud of what we have where we are. Like we add so many things on jealousy, and jealousy is just like, this is just me. It literally, like, what jealousy isn't is all the things I've said of like, oh, it means you're about to become a witch. In fact, you're already eating the fruit. You don't even know you're going to start flying in the night. Like, or you're ungrateful, or you're not proud of where you are. It doesn't mean any of these things. What jealousy actually is literally information. It's literally a signal. Your body, your mind, your subconscious is like, there's something there that we crave, that we want, that we may not have admitted to ourselves, but that longing exists. And the only reason why that thing is affecting us, pinching us in our souls, is because we want it to. And I think that that's the interesting thing about jealousy, because jealousy is not going to point out something that you don't want. And I also think that's what makes jealousy so valuable, and why it's so important to look at it the right way. Because jealousy is simply signaling into something that you actually want. You sometimes just haven't admitted it to yourself. It's signaling into something that you internally think of as valuable. And maybe you don't have the words for it, maybe you haven't um, figured out what that is exactly, but it's something that you value, which is why you are jealous. And that's it. You are jealous because you want something that this person has that you don't have yet. And I think that looking at it that way is so illuminating, and it takes away all the negativity from it. Because if we don't see it for what it is, what ends up happening is that, like I said, it becomes toxic, right? That like, and that's why like people tend to avoid jealousy. I would not admit to jealousy because we tend to just associate it with the toxic part of it, of like, oh, jealousy is this bad thing, you know. But the reality is that it only becomes, for the most part, it only becomes destructive when you don't listen to it, when you try and when you don't listen to it, when you act like it's not there, when you try and suppress it, when you don't admit to yourself what you are doing, what you are feeling. And so then it turns to bitterness, it turns to resentment, it turns to um you making snide remarks. Oh, she must have done a bit better, that's why her body's like that. Oh, he must have killed his father, that is why he's rich. Oh, she must have, you know, whatever it is. Like we become so bitter and so um resentful, and we and judgmental, um instead of just simply admitting what it is, instead of just simply seeing jealousy as information. And I think that that is so damaging, because we could go so much further in life if we just sat with ourselves in this specific scenario. We just sat with our jealousy. I'll give a perfect example, right? Let's say I have someone in my life that probably we went to the same school, we started our careers around the same time, you know, by all on paper we should all be doing well in life, or be around the same level. Like if I have a car, he has a car, you know, like we should all be around the same level in our lives, and the life does not always work that way. But then in this scenario, this person, even though we started out together, even though we had for the most part access to the same things, this person is now so much more further in life than I am, right? Toxic jealousy will probably turn that into a situation where I'm not just I'm jealous of the person, but then I am like spreading rumors about the person's, you know, source of wealth, source of success. That's why you hear things of like, oh, he must be sleeping around, she was sleeping around, that's why she got the promotion, like all that stuff. But then if we frame jealousy for what it is, which is literally information, right? Which is a signal your body's, your mind, your subconscious is telling you that you want the same thing, there's something there that you should listen to. It's a lot easier to then go up to this person and be like, oh, I see that you're always getting promoted. How can I also, like, what do you do? I see that, you know, you went from this to this. I would like to make the same, I would like to have the same career trajectory. How can I achieve it? By framing jealousy right, not only do we get rid of the toxicity, we also give ourselves the, not just permission, but the opportunity to become the thing that we want. Like that conversation, having this kind of conversation to people that you're jealous of could then lead to something really beautiful and fruitful, where the person is like, oh, this is what I did, um this is how to do it, and that's it. Like it doesn't have to be this whole thing where you're just like dying inside and like unhappy and like spreading rumors and being bitter and being resentful. You can literally just follow the information, follow jealousy, and let it guide you to becoming what you need to become, or where you would like to go next. And so, what do you do the next time you feel jealousy? This is what I do when I'm jealous, when I notice that I'm jealous. And after I deal with all the drama, because I wish I could say that as good as I am and as seemingly self-aware as I am, that I instantly recognize jealousy. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I need to do some dance, do some work, ask yourself 7 million questions to not get to, oh, this is jealousy. It's just in a different format. But here's what I do when I'm jealous. I ask myself what triggered this feeling. And I always like to go deep, right? Because obviously what triggered it is seemingly a surface thing. But it's never really that. Sometimes it's like, oh, maybe you see a girl, maybe I'm a woman and I say a woman, um, for instance, I say a woman with a wig, right? And it's like, oh, I'm jealous of how big, how much is the wig, how did she get it? Oh, she must be sleeping around to get the money for the wig. Um, but sometimes when you dig deeper, you realize, okay, what you want is validation. What you want is for people to think you've made it as well. What you want is for people to think that um, your life is going great. That your life isn't where it actually is. Your life is, you've gone further than you are right now. So like it's so important to investigate, jealousy when you realize what it is. Like, okay, what is it about this thing? What is it about this situation that is making me feel jealous? That's making me, you know, um feel this way. What do I want? Why is this thing triggering me? And you can't just ask yourself like a surface level thing, like, do I want a bag so I can go and buy a bag? It's very rarely about the surface, right? There's always, more often than not, there's always something underneath that is triggering the jealousy. And it's like, oh, I want, again, like I want to get a car so people will think, oh, I like this car this person is driving. I want to drive this exact car so people will know that I've made it in life. I want respect. I want validation. I want approval. I want love. Sometimes, I'm not a man, but I imagine that there are times maybe a guy could just for another guy because he is with a woman that has a nice bum. And the conversation there, this is such a stupid scenario, but then the conversation there could be the initial thinking could be like, oh, he too, you want to want with the large bum, but underneath all of that is that he wants love. He wants to have a partner. He wants someone to grow with. He wants his own person, and there's nothing wrong with that. So, actually, like trying to investigate what specifically triggered that feeling, what is making you so jealous about a situation is the right steps to do. Another thing that I do is, which ultimately, again, reason why I know this is such a controversial take, but is the reason why I really love jealousy. Because jealousy will show you the desire that you have been suppressing, right? For instance, I'm online and I see someone that has a podcast and the podcast is doing really well. In the past, I have been jealous because I'm like, what did they have that I don't have, blah, blah, blah. But when I investigate it and go further down, the desire is what I realize and what I end up figuring is I used to have a podcast back in the day, and I have been this podcast specifically. I'm talking about it for 2 years, at least 2 years. I'm talking about it, um, and so every time I would, see someone start a podcast or their podcast is doing well, I'll be triggered. I'll be jealous. Not from a which way, but it should just remind me. I don't know, I'm calling saying which a lot, but I mean not from a negative way of like, obviously I support them and I want, what's best for them as well, and I'm rooting for them and all the things. But the reason why it would trigger me is because it would remind me of my desire to have a podcast as well. It would remind me that there's something that I've been saying that I want to do um, for the past 2 years that I haven't done. And again, this is why jealousy is amazing. This is it. This is why, because jealousy, if framed well, will pinpoint you to where you need to go. It's like, oh, I'm jealous of my friend because now they're on the phone all the time. You're not jealous of the phone. You're not jealous that the other person has a time to call them, or that they have a time to call the other person. You're jealous of if it's a situation where they're in love, right? You're jealous of that relationship. Maybe you're single and you want that for yourself as well. Um, maybe it's always a work call and right now you're unemployed and obviously you miss being having a job and you want that as well. So yeah, jealousy is so valuable because it pinpoints what you desire, what you are missing, what you crave, what you want, and shows you what you really value or where your values lie to an extent. So knowing that is so important to not ignore jealousy, because if you ignore it for too long, like I said, you can get really bitter or numb, where actually the really bitter thing is because saying that off the top of my head, all I can see is Patience Sissoko from those movies killing people's children, or killing people's, eating people's children, or killing people's, taking people's husbands. But that is like that just shows you how bad things can get. Not that you actually become a witch, but you don't want to become this person that is constantly bitter, that is constantly peddling rumors around, because you need to come up with a narrative for why so person has the thing that you want, that you want admit that you want, that you don't have, right? And being bitter doesn't lead to growth. The whole this whole conversation, this whole podcast is about doing the work, about living from the inside out, and refusing to acknowledge your jealousy, refusing to um, listen to what your subconscious is telling you, makes you bitter, can make you bitter, can make you critical, can make you a critic, and not the one that gets paid to criticize movies and books and things, but just someone that's constantly bitter and no one wants to be around, and you don't even want to yourself. And it doesn't lead to growth. It just leads to stagnation. It leads to, you know, unhappiness. It makes you miserable. And so, again, I think that jealousy is a great emotion. Okay, that might be an exaggeration because it's not always great to feel, because it calls you to be truthful to yourself. And sometimes, ugh, what's time for all of that? Sometimes, sometimes I enjoy a little delusion. Mhm. Sometimes I want to just be delusional, just like not admit that I am feeling a way or wanting a thing. But jealousy appears and it's like, nope, let's investigate. Let's dig deep. Why is that thing pinching your soul? Why is that thing doing the way it's doing you? Why is that thing getting you to be so whatever it is? And that is the thing that I love the most about jealousy, but also the thing I don't like about it, which is why I love it so much. I know. And so I am going to end this way. Um, the next time you feel jealous, sit down with yourself and ask yourself why, and try and follow that jealousy. It could be that it could also just be that you just want more, and it doesn't make you ungrateful, right? It doesn't mean that you're not happy with where you are in your life right now. You could be happy in your life at this stage in your life and want more. There's something wrong with that. So the next time jealousy comes, my advice, sit down with it and have an honest conversation and see what happens. Okay, thank you so much for listening. Please like, share, do all the things, and I'll see you next week.